Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, friends. Today we're watching Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 17. It's 17, That Which Survives. Also, friends, this is T-minus 8 episodes until the end of the entire series of the original Star Trek. Bittersweet, friends, but we still have some more adventures with the original crew, and I can't wait to see each and every second of each and every one. Thank you for being here. Friends, if you could do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It greatly helps out a small channel, and it allows me to alert you next time it's time to go live. And of course, if there's anything that we do that you would like early or in its full-length format, the link to our Patreon is in the description. Not a fan of Patreon, stick with us here on YouTube memberships and you'll get all of our episodes about a day early, plus any bonus episodes we come up with. But my dear friends, all that is then and this is now, and now it's time to boldly go aboard the NCC 1701 as we watch Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 17, That Which Survives. T-minus 8. Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction. And away we go! Look at that beauty. I will miss that beauty like the desert misses the rain.
The age of this planet would seem to be only a few thousand years. It would be impossible for vegetation to evolve in so short a period. But its mass and its atmosphere are similar to Earth.
Really?
But the inconsistencies are so compounded as to present a seemingly impossible phenomenon.
But a fascinating one, Mr. Stewart.
Precisely, Captain.
Precisely, Jim.
Send Dr. McCoy to the transporter room for survey party. We'll also need senior geologist D'Amato.
Senior geologist?
Well, the opportunity to explore so young a planet is an incredible bit of luck, Captain.
Yes, if Mr. Spock is correct, you'll have a report to startle the 5th Interstellar Geophysical Conference.
This is something that I really dig. Mission specialists, love that.
Wait, you must not go.
What? Sweet. My kidneys. Okay. So we're transporting down without an operator. Not great. Wow. Holy shit. Look at that set. No checkoff. Ugh.
Are you all right?
Yes, I believe no permanent damage was done. The occipital area of my head seems to have impacted with the arm of the chair.
No, Mr. Spock. I meant, what happened to us?
In a broader sense, Spock.
The planet's gone.
What?
I got a reading of almost immeasurable power, but it's not there anymore.
This guy looks familiar.
Shock may have damaged it.
It's gone. The Enterprise, it's gone.
Dear God, initial thought would be it was destroyed.
It means we're stranded.
I like this team, though. I like this team. All right, Jim's going to tell us about the final frontier. Okay, so a couple observations right off the bat. Like I said, I love the idea of mission specialists. We kind of got away from that. We used to have quite a few mission specialists. Not a few, but we had a good bit of mission specialists. People brought in for a specific leg of whatever mission adventure we were on. And in season one had a couple of those, which I really, really enjoyed. But with this, you know, I like that Spock's not down there, because sometimes Spock just being Spock can get you out of a jam. So if you take your Swiss Army knife out of the equation in Spock, then we've got ourselves, we're cooking with gas when it comes to exactly what we could see here. We have Sulu, and we know that Sulu can botany and whatnot. We know we have a geologist with us, and obviously we've got McCoy, who's a physician. So no dedicated science officer, though. Now, I'm assuming that, what's his name, D'Amato, could be able to, you know, I mean, he's a scientist, he's a geologist, but telepay Meredith Lucas, Herb Wallerstein is our director. That's Herb's like third or fourth from this season.
If the Enterprise had blown up, would have left a high residual radiation.
Once in Siberia, there was a meteor so great that it flattened whole forests and was felt as far as...
Mr. Sulu, if I'd wanted a Russian history lesson, I'd have brought along Mr. Chekhov.
Oh, Chekhov mentioned. Why is he shutting down Sulu? I wonder if Kirk stepping on Sulu's lines there was Jim or the actual script. Or Bill in the actual script.
Spock to sick bay.
Sick bay, Dr. Mabenka.
Report on the death of the transporter officer.
We're not sure.
Mbenga! Awesome. That's awesome.
What bothers me is the stars, Mr. Spock.
The stars.
Yes, sir. They're wrong.
What?
Now, here's a replay of the star pattern just before the explosion.
Okay.
That in a flash, we've been knocked 1,000 light years away from where we were.
990.7 light years to be exact, Lieutenant.
But that's not possible. Nothing can do that.
Something can.
Your statement is not only illogical, but also unworthy of refutation.
But the point is, it shouldn't have held us anywhere. Why, it should have destroyed us immediately, vaporized us.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that the planet didn't blow up, and the captain and the others, they're still alive.
Please, Mr. Scott, restrain your leaps of illogic. I have said nothing. I was merely speculating.
Scotty's like, could you say something then? Because this is getting old.
It's as though every cell in the body had been individually blasted from inside.
Would any known disease organism do that?
Oh, Dr. Sanchez has ruled that possibility out, sir.
Since the Enterprise is obviously functional, I suggest we return to our starting place at top warp speed.
Aye, sir. But even at that, it'll take us a while to get there.
What's a while?
I'll sit on the warp engines myself and nurse them.
That position, Mr. Scott, would not only be unavailing, but also undignified.
I'm not sure I like the writing for Spock in this one, but whatever.
A source of water would stretch our survival. Did you see any evidence of rainfall?
No, sir. And I haven't seen any evidence that there ever has been any rainfall.
But this apparently is going to be our home for as long as we can last. I suggest we find out as much as we can about it. We'll split up. Diamato.
It's a cool approach.
Anything about the vegetation and your parasite. How do they get their moisture? If you can discover how they survive.
Maybe we can.
Captain, I was making a standard magnetic sweep. From 0, I suddenly got a reading that was off the scale. Then a reverse of polarity, and now I get nothing. I've never seen anything like this reading. Like a door open and then close again.
That was really cool. George didn't take his eyes off the tricorder. Like, Sulu was like engrossed by it. That was a nice little touch. Instead of trying to like act into the comm, remain distracted. Really good. Good stuff. Now would have been a good time for Vasquez Rock's Natural Park. But we can't go outside anymore because we don't have any money.
Do not be afraid.
I'm not.
But I did see you kill my friend.
Yes, and we're stranded here. You've been talking to my friends.
Do not be afraid.
Again, I saw you kill my buddy.
I am for you, Lieutenant Diamato.
You're the woman on the Enterprise.
Run.
I want to have a conference about sharing your food and water.
Do not call the others.
No, you're not touching me. I hope you're good at tag, because I'm running.
All levels are normal, and then I get this biological surge of life form registering.
Same thing Sulu got, only different reading.
083.
Hang on. Diamato section, come in.
Oh, damn, we're going to lose him already. Oh, shit.
Jim, every cell in his body's been disrupted.
Okay, if we see anybody, we shoot them. Phaser setting, dealer's choice.
Jim, what are you doing?
I'm setting this shit to kill.
Wherever it is, it has a mighty high melting point.
8,000 degrees centigrade. It looks like igneous rock, but infinitely denser.
If only we had a geologist.
Might explain this place a little better if we knew what the substance is. I know it was Diamato's field. Let's see what you can find out.
Yes, sir.
I mean, Captain, I usually do plant stuff, but alright.
If we can maintain it, our estimated time of arrival is 11 1/2 solar hours.
11.337 hours, Lieutenant. I wish you would be more precise.
Hey, Mr. Spock, tone it down a little bit this episode.
I know it doesn't make sense. Instrumentation reads correct, but the feel is wrong. It's something I can't quite put into words.
Describe it.
I suggest you avoid emotionalism and simply keep your instruments correct.
When your chief engineer gives you the warning that the ship doesn't feel right, I mean, we need more, but maybe run a diagnostic or something, or, you know.
It looks so lonely there.
It would be worse if he had company.
Doctor, how can you joke
I
about
hope he
it?
doesn't. He's not joking.
I'm not joking.
Yeah.
You remember on Janus 6, the silicone
But
creatures...
our instruments recorded that. They were life forms. They registered as life forms.
Is that Devil in the Dark? Janus 6? Because weren't they silicon-based? I like Scotty's just looking around like, what's off? There's something off. I need to know.
Check the bypass valve on the matter-antimatter reaction chamber. Make sure it's not overheating.
And Mr. Scott, the board shows correct.
I didn't ask you to check the board, lad.
Yes, sir.
Oh, gotcha. This is a hunch. I need to shut up and grab my stuff. I would love to have characters like this, you know, like that we've had for a while. So you like Scotty's got his crew and his team. That would be really cool. Oh no. I gotta stop liking people.
Yours is Watkins, John B.
John B, run, dude.
Know all about me. Never seen you before.
Damn it.
Show me this unit. I wish to learn.
No.
A wise precaution, considering it takes the antimatter longer to explode once the magnetic flow fails.
That's great. I'm gonna run now.
I am for you, Mr. Watkins.
And I am for getting the fuck out of here. Good. Oh, kid. It's like she folded sideways. That was a cool trick. I like that.
Conclusions. The basic substance of this planet is an alloy of dibernium osmium. It couldn't have evolved naturally.
So this is artificially made?
Apparent age of these rocks is only a few thousand years. No known process could evolve the plant life they have here in that short space of time.
So was it made?
Take Diamato's tricorder, set it for automatic distress. You'll never can tell.
Aye, sir.
That's awesome. Is that like an early warning, like sensor? Or just a distress call? I should probably...
But as to the cause, well, your guess is as good as mine.
My guess, Doctor, would be valueless. I suggest we refrain from guessing and find some facts. Spock out.
Spock has a bee in his bonnet this episode.
Then you're right, Mr. Spock. Watkins must have been murdered.
Oh, hell yeah.
If there are more of those beings on that planet, the captain and the others are in very great danger.
Meanwhile...
I am unarmed.
Sulu just shoots.
Are you from this planet?
I am from here.
Then the planet is hollow. Who killed Lieutenant Diamato?
That would be me.
I want to talk to you. That way. Move.
How the hell is she zipping around to the Enterprise and back? It's a hell of a transporter.
What do you want?
I want to touch you.
No, you're not going to Grim Reaper me.
We're on the Enterprise.
Light her up, Sulu.
Stop or I'll shoot. I don't
Light
want
her
to
up.
kill a woman.
I like that. Light her up, Sulu. Run then, dude. Run, dude. Run! She got him a little.
I must touch him.
Jim's like, I'm not dead.
I don't want to.
Who are you?
What the hell's going on?
Only Sulu.
Why?
No.
Jim just starts screaming.
All I know was that she almost made a ghost out of Sulu. His shoulder, where she touched it, every cell's been disrupted, exploded from within.
My God.
Such evil. And she's so beautiful.
Yes, I know.
Listen, your physical beauty goes down several steps in my book when you start, I don't know, killing my friends and burning my shoulder.
Please update our subspace report to Starfleet to include security search. Results negative.
How did she get off the ship, sir?
Presumably the same way she got on.
I'm going to speak in riddles today.
We are proceeding in the only logical way to return to the place they were last seen and factually ascertain whether or not they still live.
Yes, Mr. Spock.
Nichelle Nichols did a great job. Like, oh, you prick. I asked a question. Comforting would be cool, but...
Bridge to engineering. Negative effect on power reduction. Speed is still increasing.
Well, that's not great.
The emergency bypass control of the matter-antimatter integrator is fused. It's completely useless. The engines are running wild. There's no way to get at them.
Sabotage.
She just touched me. How could it happen so fast?
That's a good question.
She's got some type of power, man.
Sulu's alive because I intervened. But that raises an even worse question.
Yes. Why didn't she kill you?
She said, I am for Sulu. I am for D'Amato. The one that killed the transporter chief, though, or the ensign that was working the transporter, I don't remember her saying... and again, I said... I think that there might be more than one of these women, because I think they each are assigned somebody.
A force that could hurl us 990.7 light years away. And at that distance, still be able to sabotage our main source of energy.
Sabotage.
And I'm not even sure a man can live in a crawlway in the energy stream of the magnetic field that bottles up the antimatter.
I shall try.
You'll be killed, man. You're right. What have we got to lose?
Well, Spock, but...
General Sulu, do you feel strong enough to move about?
I feel fine, Captain.
Is he, Bones?
He's in fair shape.
As long as he can walk.
He's on overload.
Controls are fused. Dropped.
Jesus. If the phasers don't hurt her, why is... I'm assuming that she did this.
All right, lads. Get the crawlway door open. Hand me the tools.
If I start screaming, pull me out.
All right, head first. I hope Mr. Spock knows what he's doing.
I love that. Cool. I actually like that effect. They give them the little magnets. Those are like usually when you're in a Jeffries tube, they have like those magnets they put on things to like they're working on it.
I'm so close to the flow now, and it feels like ants crawling all over my body. All right, Mr. Spock. I'm starting to open the access panel now.
Here are little magnets.
If the magnetic flow jumps, you must jettison me. The safety control will not hold more than 2 seconds.
I am aware of these facts. Please get on with the job.
Why is Spock such a dick in this episode? Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Scotty?
Looks like an aurora borealis in there.
Wow.
You are monitoring the magnetic force?
Oh, yes, sir.
Please do not take your eyes off of it.
Aye, sir.
Even when talking to me.
You have 8 minutes, 41 seconds.
No pressure.
I don't need a bloomin' cuckoo clock.
Good, Scotty. Talk that sass. I am for you, Jim Kirk.
Keep behind us, John.
Shit. Thwarted.
Captain, I'm getting no life form register.
An android?
No, they would give a mechanical reading. I'm getting nothing.
That's weird.
I am Losira, commander
Commander of what?
of this station.
Station. Station where?
Commander.
Stay between us.
You must not penetrate the station. Please, I must touch you.
We're not trying to penetrate anything. We're trying to get the fuck off this planet.
I am sent.
Bye?
We defend this place.
I knew there's more than one. So weird. I like it. It's an awesome effect.
She must be somewhere.
She's not registering.
She wasn't registering before. So, I mean, it's not like, yeah, the door opening, that's the way to do it. That spike of energy. Whenever we see one of those, that means she's there somewhere or reappeared. Can't pierce the planet.
The entrance is here.
Well, found it.
I'd rather be on the Enterprise, sir.
I agree.
Yeah,
We've been led here. Why?
to go in.
Is in there.
Good delivery. Good delivery, Bill. This is cool watching Scotty cook.
Reverse polarity should seal the incision.
No time for theory. Just hope you're right.
20 seconds, Spock.
I trust you, Spock.
It's your last chance. Don't be sentimental. Push it. I'm gonna die anyway.
Please continue.
Scotty's going down in a blaze of glory. Come on. Thank God.
There's no time. Push the
10
button.
seconds. 9 seconds. 8 seconds. 7 seconds.
Come on. Quicker, quicker, Scott.
14.1. 14.
Warp 14. What the fuck?
What is it in you humans which requires an overwhelming display of emotion in a situation such as this?
I do not like Spock's, the writing for Spock in this one. It's like prick Spock. Who are you here for this time?
Who have you come for?
All three of you. Yeah, keep spinning. Keep spinning.
Who have you come for?
Don't get so close there, Bones.
You're a very determined woman for me.
I am for James T. Kirk.
Well, she could lie.
I must touch you. I beg it. It is my existence.
We've seen the results of your touch.
You kill people.
But you are my match, James Kirk. I must touch you.
What?
Watch out!
I am for McCoy.
Oh, shit. Yep, I knew there was more than
The
one.
computer must be programming these replicas.
The women match our chromosome patterns after they touch us.
It's a very painful affair, I can tell you.
This is like 3-card Monty. Make sure you've got the one that you need. Everybody else fight the other ones. Shazam!
Fuck! The computer! Destroy it!
My man didn't hesitate. My man did not hesitate.
From where this brain had the power to send the Enterprise 990.7 light years across the galaxy.
It's amazing.
But what people created this? Are there any representatives here?
There were replicas of one of them. But that power to recreate them has been destroyed.
We think.
My fellow Galandans, welcome.
Galandon?
Too late, the physicians discovered the cause of the sickness that kills us. In creating this planet, we have accidentally produced a deadly organism.
The previous ships probably spread the disease all through their people.
Oh my God.
She must have been a remarkable woman.
And beautiful.
We got that, Bones.
I don't agree with you, Mr. Spock.
Indeed, Captain.
Beauty survives.
So Plum was right. All right, everybody, we just finished watching Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 17, That Which Survives. And the only thing left to do is talk about it. All right, everybody, we just finished watching the 17th episode of the third and final season of Star Trek, the original series, That Which Survives. There's a couple things, and again, anytime I'm critical about an episode of Star Trek, it's not that I hate it or anything like that. This one, for me, and for my money, was a weaker episode. The premise was not bad. Have we seen something similar before? Sure. We've seen a lot of these kind of same things kind of dredged up every once in a while. I'll tell you what I didn't like about this one. The writing for Spock was awful in this one. I mean, again, I'm really curious to get into the Q&A in this one, because I'm going to specifically look to see how Leonard Nimoy liked this episode, because I know that Leonard Nimoy in the past, anyway, when I've done Q&As, has been very critical of, he's very protective of Spock. You know, he wants to make sure that Spock isn't compromised, that, certain Vulcan customs and things like that are continued from episode to episode. Like, he was very And again, it speaks to how the character grew so well. He's very protective of Spock. I mean, he wants to make sure that there isn't anything that will unduly hurt the character, even if it seems to be benign. Someone making a reference about a Vulcan that's not Spock. Nimoy was involved in a lot of that, a lot of making the Vulcans and obviously Spock who they were and who they would become. And so I am really, really curious to see what he thought about this one. I'll be very honest too. I think I'm going to be a little disappointed if he says, "Oh yeah, I love this episode." Ooh, because that would be really. I'm not sure how I would take that. I think I would be hurt if he said that. Isn't that strange? That's very strange. I mean, who am I? What do I know? I'm just a fan of Spock and Leonard Nimoy. But what do you all think? I mean, put it down in the comments. I'm very, very curious to see if you all. I mean, I thought it was pretty overt. He was very snarky with everybody in this episode. I didn't, except Jim. Very, very, and even Jim a little bit. I mean, he was super snarky. I didn't like it. And I'm going to tell you why. I think that the level of snark, like being sarcastic, being like biting, being a smartass just for the sake of being a smartass is not something that Spock would ever do. Because in many ways, to me, that's an emotional response. I can deliver the information, or I can deliver the information with a bit of assholery. That little bit of assholery is an emotional response because, you wouldn't, why do it like that? I'm going to be a dick. Okay. Well, that's an emotional response. You are putting on an emotional outfit when you decide to be an asshole like that. And I mean, it wasn't like, he was awful, but for Spock, it would have been like anybody else just being a raging prick. You know what I mean? It was subtle enough for a Vulcan, I guess, but I mean, I just don't buy it. I mean, and he was just, everybody was, basically everybody. I know that, Scotty. My Spock would never say that. He would, if anything, he would say something, to the point of, he would correct them if they said, "Oh, we've got 8 minutes, you've got 7 minutes and 52 seconds." And again, when he does stuff like that in the past, it hasn't been, I'm right and you're wrong. It's been, these are the facts, here's the facts. And if it comes off as bad, that's a different thing. If you interpret it as being, kind of a smart ass move, that's one thing. If it's delivered as a smart ass comment, that's a completely different thing. Now, before I get too far into Spock, I will say this. There were several things I did like quite a bit about this episode. One, I liked the entire sequence with Scotty in that Jeffrey's crawl space tube, whatever it was. I thought that was because we got to see Scotty cook. Scotty knew something was wrong. And I think that's a really, really cool beat to put in there for Scotty's character, where he was just sitting there going, "Man, this doesn't even sound right. Something's not right with the ship." Checks his board. The board's fine. Like when he went to Watkins and he was like, "We need to check the antimatter conduit flow." And he's like, "Well, the board's fine." He's, "I didn't tell you to check the board. I told you to check that." I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the Watkins character and the D'Amato character. I really liked them. And I really think if it was done nowadays and was serialized, we'd have a ton. I feel so strongly about it that we would have a ton of secondary characters, like Plum would have his own like medical team outside of just Christine Chapel. Like M'Benga was back, he would be not a permanent, but you'd see him, in a 20 plus episode season, you'd see him in 7 or 8 episodes. You know what I mean? Something like that level of reoccurring character. And again, I think having a security officer, somebody who's in charge of security, or even, I always forget Garrick or Garovic, as Garovic, the ensign Garovic would have been a great one to have on there. It's like watching his story progress. That would have been so good. But we had the ensign that took over for Sulu's position. It'd be great to see her again. I think it's awesome. We haven't seen a woman fly the Enterprise since the Cage, right? All the way back to when number 1 flew it. I mean, that's crazy. I would have loved to have seen more of that. Almost have like a beta shift or somebody that would come in and take over for our primary, our primary characters at certain points, I think it would have been really, really cool. And not that it's a missed opportunity. I think it's just a product of the times, and obviously cost cutting too. You couldn't enhance, the ensemble in season 3, but it was really cool to see certain like Mbenga coming back. It was really big for me. I thought that was a really cool beat. Now the Janus 6 silicon-based life form. I can't remember if Devil in the Dark takes place on Janus 6. I remember Devil in the Dark wasn't it a silicon-based life form? I think so. I can't remember for sure though, but that was a referent too. And we had some bleed through from Mbenga being another perfect example of that. But again, if that was a referent to Devil in the Dark, I think that's really cool. The other thing that I liked quite a bit was that folding teleport that they had. That was cool shit. That was a really cool effect where they turned sideways and then it lowered down. I've actually seen that mimicked later, like in the 80s. And I'm trying to remember who teleported like that, where they turn sideways and then the line becomes a dot and they disappear. That was really cool. Enjoyed that quite a bit. A different teleportation technique. And that was, they didn't have to do that, but they did. And it worked out to great effect, I thought. But for me, the episode is bottom half simply because the Spock stuff I couldn't get by. If Spock had been normal Spock, throughout this episode, it almost seems like every time Spock gets a chance to like really take command, they do something to F him up, like Galileo 7, whenever they had, everybody was just bitching at him and like basically treating him like he wasn't the person that was in charge. And now with this one, they have him acting differently. And it removes me from being able to enjoy what would be kind of a monumental or monumentous like moment for Spock, taking the chair, getting Jim back, figuring everything out. That's what Spock's, but I really want to appreciate every time he's in command because it's a rarity, Normally he's with Jim on surface or, on the landing party. Having him be in the situation, it was sort of robbed from, at least from me. I don't want to speak for any of you. It was sort of robbed from me in that they just made him just a real asshole in this one. And it was off-putting from the very jump, when he just kept correcting people and just kept being a dick for a dick's sake. Just didn't like it. I mean, like I said, I'm going to be very curious to see what Leonard Nimoy thought about this because, again, he's so protective of Spock. For one, if I had to make a guess, I can't believe that he'd be happy with how this turned out. But again, maybe he enjoyed it. Maybe give him a chance to do something different with Spock. I might be able to be swayed if Nimoy felt very strongly about the episode and was like, oh no, I got to go places with Spock I never went before. I might even, look at it again through, armed with that information, because immediately when I started watching this, I'm like, Nimoy must have hated this. Well, that's me kind of putting, I'm supposing something happened. But if it didn't, then I need to go back and remove that. No, Leonard Nimoy liked this episode. If that's the case, then I need to go back and watch his scenes again to appreciate the things that he was doing and take my own shit out of it. You know what I mean? But, like any episode of Star Trek, there's just always so much going on. And like we often joke in Q&A, there's just so much behind the scenes, especially with season 3, that needs further development. We need more information. And you know where I'm going with this, friends. This is T-8 episodes of the original series. Only 7 episodes remain, so we need to glean every bit of information we can from each and every episode. So at this point, there's only one person that can answer the questions that are currently in a thunderhead in my mind as I am very upset by what I saw. And the only person that can maybe clear my skies is the one and only General. Greetings and salutations, my friends. 'Tis I, leader of men, lover of women, and best friend to Jim Kirk, General Trelane. Retired. Friends, this is where after having watched and reacted to an original series episode of Star Trek, I like to dig a little bit deeper and find out what went on behind the cameras. Things that if I had looked up beforehand would have ruined the reaction for me. But to keep myself from wandering off into the weeds for 3 hours, I've given myself 5 categories to explore. The first of which, writer and director, who were they? The second, guest stars, did we have any? The third, of the core cast or the big 8, who was present? The fourth and juiciest of all the categories, the production notes, what went on behind the cameras? And last but certainly not least, our 5th category, a memorable quote from this episode. Let's get started. All right, my dear friends, and for our very first category, we have writer and director. Who were they? Well, as always, or as often for season 3, we have a bit of a interesting bag for the writer section in this one, so I am going to leave a lot of that for the production notes. So I'll just give you the broad strokes here in writer and director. The writer for this episode, or at least the story credited, we'll just go with this. John Meredith Lucas, everybody. Now, there was also a story by credit given to Michael Richards, who we all know may be more than they appear. More on that in production notes. Our director for this episode is none other than Whom Gods Destroy and Tholian Web veteran Herb Wallerstein. Welcome back, Herb. I thought you did a good job. All right, everybody, let's move on and see what's next. All right, my friends, and for our second category, guest stars, did we have any? We certainly did. In fact, we only had one that came from outside of the Enterprise with our guest stars. So I'll start with Lee Merriweather, who played our killer, I am for you, triplicate assassin that would come into play. But also now we had several crew members who had roles of prominence in this episode. We had Arthur Bantonitis as D'Amato, we had Naomi Pollock as Lieutenant Rada, and we had Booker Bradshaw reprising his role as Dr. Joseph Mbenga. I am so happy to see that again because it speaks of a continuity that normally episodic TV doesn't give us, but they gave us a little bit here, my friends. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our third category of the core cast, or the Big Eight, who was present. Well, who are the Big Eight? We have Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Sulu, Scotty, Uhura, and we also have Chekhov and Chapel. It is the last two in Chekhov and Chapel that do not appear. However, Chekhov is mentioned, as if he wanted a Russian lesson, he would have brought down Chekhov. So Chekhov was mentioned, so sort of there in spirit. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our fourth category, production notes. Usually the juiciest of all of our categories because it's here where we find out what went on behind the cameras. And as we've often said, especially in season 3, the story behind the cameras of Star Trek, the original series, sometimes is just as good as the one they put in front of it. Let's get started. All right, my friends, and for our first production note, this one deals with Booker Bradshaw's reprisal of Dr. Joseph Mbenga, as this is the first time we have seen him since A Private Little War, but this is one of the rarefied times we see somebody return in a role that they had held previously in another episode. In fact, I think Harry Mudd's the only one that I can pull out of the top of my head that came back, right? I think. I don't know. Friends, correct me if I'm sure I'm wrong, but correct me. And we move on. And now, friends, for our second production note, this is the last episode where we see this is a bit of a spoiler, but this is the last episode where we see any member of the Enterprise die. And so I thought that was of notable report, so I decided to add this to this one. And I'm going to be interested to see just how dangerous or how lucky the crew is in the last couple episodes. Let's move on. And now, my friends, for our third production note, and you knew where I was going with this one whenever we did writer and director, and Michael Richards was mentioned. Michael Richards is the pseudonym for DC Fontana. And DC Fontana was none too happy with what they did with this script. In fact, she was so frustrated with how her story premise had been altered that she removed her name entirely for the story by and credit and provided her pseudonym Michael Richards, a pen name that she only used when she was pissed, which I love. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our fourth production note, this seems to be the most serious, maybe I'm going to go out on a limb and say That Which Survives might be the most serialized episode that we've ever had in Star Trek, the original series. And that's because Sulu mentions the Hortas in this one. As I was speculated during the reaction, the Janus 6 Hortas from The Devil in the Dark do get a mention in this one, which is very, very interesting. It's also interesting because Sulu wasn't in that episode. But the other cool thing is we get a throwback. We get an idea, a touchstone now that these stories follow one another, that this is a tale grander than just the 50 minutes we spend each week with them. There is a 5-year mission going on, my friends, and I love the fact that they had this callback. Mbenga came back. Really, really good. The serialization in this one probably saved it a little bit for me. Let's move on. And now, friends, for our final production note number 5. This is a very interesting one and one that I didn't pick up on during the reaction. Shame on me. This episode is the only, or one of a handful, they said, and I couldn't actually pull up one that I could compare it with. So take this for what it will. This is one of only a few episodes of the original series that does not have an official effective log. No one gives a log in this one. No captain's log, no Spock log, no, ensigns, no logs whatsoever in this one. Interesting stuff, my friend. That's probably one of the most interesting facts about anything that we've had, considering how prevalent and how necessary a lot of times the logs are to recapping the story, bringing us up to speed, giving us a time jump, making us aware of the thoughts of Kirk or Spock, something that, just outward or vocalized, monologue couldn't often give you. Sometimes we need to hear the thoughts, and the logs provide us with those thought bubbles. Not in this one, my friends. Let's move on. And now, my friends, for our fifth and final category of this Q&A, a memorable quote from this episode. Well, I thought because Scotty has been dreadfully unrepresented in the memorable quote section, I decided to add his quote in this one. And I thought it gave a good feel for not only the experience that Scotty was going through in the Jeffries tube, but also it's visceral, it's very sensorial. And so here is the quote. I'm so close to the flow now, it feels like ants crawling all over my body. And I thought that was just a really great quote to show you just what it would have been like. That gives us a good feel, a good idea of what Scotty went through to save the Enterprise. Friends, thus ends another installment of Q&A. Until such time as you and I get to play with our dear friend Jim again, behave yourselves.